Hello, Richard from budgetguitarist.com. I've been really busy with work, family, writing and recording my next album, but I did go to the 2025 Orlando Guitar Convention. A lot of guys in the booths don't want to be videoed, so I just took some pictures like I did last year. Pictures of stuff I thought would be interesting to talk about, okay? As usual, I like to stay half an hour away from the actual convention because the convention is held at the Orlando Fairgrounds and there's not much out there. So I stay at Embassy Suites on International Drive. 2 words, indoor pool. Also, they have a manager's reception each night for 2 hours when you can get basically free beer. So there's that. Inside the room, I struggled to find the light switch, but then I found it. This reminds me of those little like half-size guitar pedals, you know? Embassy Suites gives you a living room and a bedroom, so when you're in the bedroom, you don't hear the 6-year-olds running down the hall screaming at 11 p.m. Seriously, if you're a parent and you let your kid do that, you suck. This room is overlooking International Drive, home of the giant Ferris wheel and a million places to eat. Also Shake Shack, and I like the shakes there. Saturday morning, I got up and I drove to the convention center, and it was a dismal day. I hate gray skies. Kind of a dismal day for this. The skies are gray. Let me show you. Skies are gray. I'm looking unusually old, but here we are at the convention center. Yeah, gonna go inside. Actually, gonna get in line and then go inside. Did we lock the car? Did we? Yes, we did. We locked it. All right. Goodbye, car. That big building is where we're going. Boy, this is just pulse-pounding excitement. I can hardly wait to see all the vintage guitars that I'll never be able to afford. Probably came in this U-Haul. So here's a line to get in, and guess what? It's all old dudes like me. What a surprise. The line extended pretty far back. Here's a PRS CE24 for $1,400 with case. That's a great deal. I won't pay that much for a guitar, but it's a great deal. Alex Lifeson played a CE24 at one point. It's an American-made PRS with a bolt-on neck. And now they actually have a SE version, and I took a picture of one of those a little later. And here's a used American Strat for $995. Now, we're almost at the point in time where even a used American Strat is going to be more than $1,000. This had nothing to do with guitars, but I thought it was cool. I love any kind of old mechanical vending device. They're just so cool. Here's one of those Fender Tone Master amps for $400. I mean, that's probably a great sounding amp for that price range. The show was a little smaller than previous years, so they had these partitions up. I mean, we're not talking much smaller. There were still tons of tables and cool guitars. I love this thing. I like the budget racks. Here's a MIM Strat for $450, which I'd consider a good deal in 2025. Here's another MIM Strat for $500. I mean, there were a few in this price range. If you want a MIM Strat, they're just going to keep going up. Might want to grab one now. Here's a Fender Mustang, and to be honest, I don't know why I took this picture. Okay, let's talk about Gibson Les Pauls. I wanted to know the lowest priced standard Gibson Les Paul. So this one here is $1995, and I was pretty sure I could find one cheaper. Feast your eyes on this classic car-inspired guitar. Yes, it's silly, but I think it's cool. Did I take a picture with a headstock showing? Oh, good. Yes, I did. Cool. Squier Strats made in Japan are great budget guitars, except when people want $700 for them. They're good. They're not that good. Here's an American Telecaster for a little over $1,000. Ho-hum. And a Blues Junior amp for $495. Honestly, I do think these sound a little small and boxy because that's the cabinet. But if you hook this thing up to a bigger cabinet, you'll be astonished at how good it sounds. A Fender MIM bass for $475, which I think is a great deal myself. I already have 3 basses, but If I was in the market, I would have snapped that up. And here's a PRS SE Silver Sky for $675. I think you can find them cheaper than that. Another MIM Strat for $450. Good deal. Here's that PRS SECE24 for $675. I mean, I do think they're great guitars for the money, honestly. But I've never been a fan of the SE pickups. Pickups are easy to swap, though. This is a Gibson Sonex 180 Standard, and it's a guitar I know nothing about. $899 seems about right for a slab body guitar with Gibson on the headstock. Here's a Gibson Melody Maker for $799. I mean, that's a decent price. I wouldn't mind one of these guitars, but maybe a little cheaper. And here's Gibson The Paul for $879. This doesn't appeal to me at all for some reason. Okay, here's a Gibson Les Paul Standard for $1899. So is this the lowest price for Les Paul Standard we can find here? We're going to keep looking. All right, I'm about to make some people really mad at me. An MX Star Distortion Plus for $165. I hate these pedals. They sound like a box of bees. They always did. And I hear you, but Randy Rhoads used one on Crazy Train. I loved Randy Rhoads, and I love his playing on that song, but I don't like his tone on that song. And, if you don't agree, that doesn't make me wrong. It's a box of bees. And once again, the dumbest guitar ever made, the Upside Down Flying V. This is just plain horrible. $1,700 for a Les Paul Standard. That's the cheapest one so far. Let's see if we can do any better. Here's a big view of the convention. So as you can see, lots and lots of vintage guitars that I personally cannot afford. Be sure to include the corn dog story. Okay, yeah, I'll tell the story. This dude had to wait like 20 minutes for a corn dog, and I've never seen anyone get so mad. His whole table was trying to calm him down, and he was screaming at the lady. And then finally, when it was ready, he screamed at her to shove it up her ass. On the tiny small chance that this guy somehow happens to watch this video, here's what I would say. Sir, you need anger counseling. I'm not being funny. That type of behavior could cost you a job, and one day you scream at the wrong person, you could end up getting shot. Please get help. Your friends were embarrassed. Listen, if you come to the convention, no one else will be like that. It's such a laid-back, chill vibe from this group of people. Everybody is pretty nice. Seriously. Okay, on with the pictures. Here's a Rick Turner Lindsey Buckingham model. The price tag is big, but I've never played one of these before, and so I played it. And honestly, it was pretty cool. It was pretty neat. I would never pay that kind of money for a guitar, but still a neat guitar. Here's a classic Vibe Strat, $299, new condition. That's a steal. I hope somebody bought this, honestly. That's an absolute steal of a bargain. Here's another MIM Strat for $475. Apparently there were plenty of these, but again, I think that's a good price. And here's a good-looking PRS Standard for $500. Now, that's not a steal, but I do think it's a lot of guitar for $500. A Les Paul something or other for $1,700. Is this a Standard? I can't tell from this picture. Okay, the cheapest guitar in the entire place, $25. I didn't want it, but I almost bought it anyway. That's a new record. Here's a Les Paul Classic for $1,600. I mean, that's practically a Standard, so I'm going to say that's the cheapest. And here's a Les Paul Studio for under $1,000, which is something that in another year or two, you won't see. If you can buy a Les Paul Studio for under $1,000, you should do it, probably. Here's a Les Paul Traditional for $1,600. Okay, that's a good price. I'm not in the market, but basically a Standard. It's a good price. Hey, look, it's Alex from A Flash Flood of Gear. You should check out his YouTube channel. I'll link it below. He's going to have a video of this same convention. I said hi to him, but I didn't want to take up any of his time because He was super busy all day checking out guitars and making deals. Here's an Electra. I had one of these back in the 80s with 3 single coils, and I loved it. It was a great guitar for the money back then. These days, it's too rich for my blood. I can't read the price on this, but I think it was something like $800 or $900, and that's too much. Meanwhile, that night at the hotel. So I just got back to the Embassy Suites from the convention. A lot of stuff at this point. You've seen the video, so you saw some of the stuff that I found interesting. I'm definitely tired, but I'm going to go out to dinner tonight, which would be fun. And tomorrow I'm going to get up and drive home. If I were going to summarize it right now, I think they should call it the Vintage Guitar Show. Another thing that I noticed is that they're more likely to let you play the guitars that are like, let's say, under $10,000 than maybe in the past. It's interesting. Yeah, interesting. The usual assortment of old guys, though, they're like my age, you know. Had a really nice talk with a bass player and his wife over lunch, and we were both talking about how we used to do gigs in the 80s, etc., and so on. And it was his first time. I don't remember his name, but he had a Groons guitar t-shirt on. So if somehow, some way he possibly manages to see this video, I would say, hey, it was nice chatting with you. Hopefully they tighten the bolts on that picnic bench, that picnic table, and maybe I'll see you next year. So there you go. That was pics from this year's Orlando Guitar Convention. Thank you for watching, and I will see you some future Friday at 5.